I'm Andy Katz for NCAA.com and March Madness with my Sweet 16 power rankings. So here's what I did. Very similar to my Power 36 throughout the course of the regular season. I'm ranking these based on who looked the best over this weekend, who they beat, how they won, and also who they have on their roster. Because there's at least one team that maybe didn't play its best basketball over the course of the weekend, but it's too difficult to put them too far down. So let's start at the top. My number one team in my Sweet 16 power rankings, the North Carolina Tar Heels. They look phenomenal over the weekend. I think they go into the Sweet 16 arguably as maybe the favorite, or certainly one of the top three favorites to win in Minneapolis. Nasir Little, who came in way hyped, did not have a great early part of the season, but he's certainly playing some of his best basketball at the right time. You combine Little with Kobe White and all those veterans, and the Tar Heels certainly deserve the number one ranking. And number two, Gonzaga. Certainly showing no hangover that St. Mary's lost in the WCC tournament title game. Brandon Clark, 36 points in that victory over Baylor. Remember, a year ago when they lost in the Sweet 16 to Florida State, they didn't have Clark and they didn't have Killian Tilly because he got hurt in warm-ups. And Gonzaga is my pick to win the national championship. And number three, this is where I have Duke. Duke did not play its best game and almost lost. Aubrey Dawkins right there for the tip, couldn't convert. Yet, they've got Zion Williamson, they've got R.J. Barrett, two of the best players certainly in the country, 1-2 possibly in the draft. It's very difficult to put Duke lower. They did survive and advance, and that's why I hedged still putting them at number three, because their best basketball still could come this weekend in Washington, D.C. At number four, Virginia. Now, the Cavaliers did not play well in the first half against Gardner-Webb. Looked kind of scary like last season with what occurred in their loss to UMBC. But then that second half against Gardner-Webb and their game against Oklahoma, especially the second half against the Sooners, showed why the Cavaliers are one of the favorites to win in Minneapolis. They check in at number four. Tennessee at number five. My pick to play the Zags in the national championship game. Well, Tennessee in the first half looked like a national champion against Iowa. The second half, they gave up a 25-point lead. But they look like a champion in overtime. Even though Admiral Schofield wasn't on the floor, Grant Williams, the two-time SEC Player of the Year, he took over and they knocked off Iowa. So they head into the Sweet 16 at number five on my list. A little surprise at number six. I don't think a week ago I would have had Purdue at this spot, but the Boilermakers, behind 42 points from Carson Edwards, absolutely destroyed Villanova in Hartford. The defending champs, they're out. Purdue's on to the Sweet 16. Matt Painter doing a phenomenal job with the Boilermakers. They are playing great right now in the NCAA tournament. At number seven, I've got Florida State. Florida State took apart Murray State in that second round, and the Seminoles, who've got this rematch coming up against Gonzaga out in California, they may be better than last year's team that knocked off the Zags. I kind of thought about maybe putting Florida State a little higher, settled at number seven. At number eight, Michigan State. Now, they almost lost to Bradley. Certainly in the first half, they did not play well at all. But in their game over Minnesota, Cassius Winston did what Cassius Winston does, and he took over the basketball game. That's why he was the Big Ten Player of the Year. That's why he's the first-team All-American. Michigan State looked like a potential Final Four team in that second half against Minnesota. At number nine, I've got Texas Tech. Now, the Red Raiders, you could argue, I've been a little bit skeptical of throughout the course of the season. I didn't even pick them to beat Buffalo. Boy, did they look good, though. They knocked off the Bulls. Chris Beard, my National Coach of the Year, he did a great job preparing the Red Raiders for this past weekend, getting Texas Tech ready defensively, offensively. Jarrett Culver has been playing at such a high level. I could have put the Red Raiders a little higher, but based on a little bit of who they beat to get there, that's why I settled at the 9 spot. Michigan played very well against Florida for the most part, took care of the Gators, and you could make a strong case that Michigan should be higher. And again, who do you put them ahead of? But their offense is clicking, their defense is going well, and this matchup, in my 9-10, if you will, against Texas Tech out in Anaheim should be one of the better games in the Sweet 16. Now, here's where it gets very interesting, and I know a lot of arguments are going to come from a lot of different schools here, but I've got Auburn at number 11, in large part because they almost lost or could have gone into overtime against New Mexico State. They did very well, obviously, in taking apart Kansas. They're shooting the basketball as well as they have throughout the course of the season. Of course, they won the SEC tournament by beating Tennessee. 12 for LSU. Now, the Tigers almost lost to Maryland. basically allowed Yale to come back on them, but they put them away. And I know I didn't have as much faith early, but LSU deserves their spot in the Sweet 16, and I think the winner of LSU-Michigan State could end up winning the East region. The Tigers winning on a Tremont Waters layup to knock off Maryland. They settle in at number 12. Normally, I would not have Kentucky at number 13, but P.J. Washington's in a cast, not a boot. Kentucky did an outstanding job defensively on Wofford's Fletcher McGee, holding him without a made three-point basket after, in the first round against Seton Hall, he set the all-time record for three-pointers made. But no P.J. Washington made me put them further down in my rankings. I may regret that. Right now, does not look like he's going to play in the Sweet 16. That's why I have Kentucky at 13. Houston, once again, another team I could have easily put higher. Ohio State pushed Houston for quite some time in the second round game before Houston was able to pull away. The Cougars have one of the better backcourts remaining in this field. They defend. Kelvin Sampson done a phenomenal job with this team, winning the AAC regular season. Another team that was hard to place in here, easily could have been higher than number 14. Virginia Tech at 15. They've got Justin Robinson back. They took care of what you could make a strong case that maybe it was a weaker second-round opponent in Liberty, even though Liberty knocked off Mississippi State. And that's kind of why I factored into pushing Virginia Tech further down in this list. So they check in at number 15. And my final team actually played some of the best basketball on Sunday. That's Oregon. Oregon, the only double-digit seed out of the Pac-12, getting hot late. They win the Pac-12 tournament title. Kenny Wooten has made a name for himself. He's blocking everything in sight. Peyton Pritchard is playing well. The Ducks certainly could come out of this region. They could actually make a crazy run to the Final Four. It's that open, you could make a strong case in that region. But based on what's in front of them, based on who else has what they have coming back for this weekend, I had to put the Ducks last. I may regret that. Last year, I had Loyola Chicago at the bottom of my Power 16, and look where they ended up. So that's a look at my Sweet 16 Power 16 heading in to this weekend.